We are in the middle of our fall program. We've been doing these ever since I've been here, and I've been doing them for a number of years before that. Usually, we have a study program, most likely based on a book, and we go through that book sequentially. And I would do lessons on Sunday, then you'd have a study group around that during the week. We did it very different this year. I created a prayer booklet teaching Unity's approach to affirmative prayer. I am getting reports of miracles. I don't know if you are, but I'm getting reports, and I've had two in my life. One is a change of heart I had about some people. Another is a change of heart someone had about me. And we've reached healing and agreement. And that's a wonderful thing. And I always felt the most powerful miracles in the world are when a human being has a change of heart. It's nothing for God to level a mountain or build a mountain or send a flood or stop a flood or part the waters. But when a person has a change of heart, that's big, big. And someone just came in my office between services. Let me tell you about miracles that happened in my life. They are happening because of this program. But it's different. From the very beginning, you had to learn everything in the program in order to do the program. And then we've gone back and we're catching up on some of the ideas. But in August, we introduced the idea and asked for volunteers and facilitators. And we touched on the idea of a heart check-in. 2 weeks ago, we talked about 5 areas to meditate on before we actually do the affirmative prayer. Last week, we had the marvelous ministers Jim and Donna here who were getting married, so I made them do the service so I could take the Sunday morning off. And do you know what I did? I went to the Waffle House. I had communion with a pecan waffle and some eggs and hash browns, and baby, you can tell the suit's fitting a little tighter. And I sat next to a woman because I had to sit at the counter. You know, if you're just a single, you sit at the counter, and Brenda was sleeping in. And I sat next to her when we got to talk, and she said, well, I'm an atheist. And I said, well, the God you don't believe in, I don't believe in either. And she said, what? And we had a wonderful time, but we're learning some things. So we're going to learn the 5 principles of the program, but we've already been doing them, but not everybody's been in this, and I'm really hoping that I can somehow make some sense to the intern who is looking at me to guide her how to be a Unity minister. And I don't have a clue. But I'm going to do it. So, what I want to talk about today is the first creation story in Genesis. How we got created. And then how we had to so-called fall from grace. But how we got back into the garden. Then, because I think from time to time, we need to just review the Unity basic principles. I'm going to do that. Then I'm getting to the 5 principles. My mentor said to me, John, don't ever give them too many points in a talk. But I never listened. We're going to get this, though. So you know the Genesis story. First chapter says, God created man and woman in God's image and after likeness. But do you know a couple of chapters later, we returned to favor. We created God in our image and likeness. What happened? What happened? Well, and you have to understand these are stories. This is not literal history. This is stories. So, we read that God created everything, and it's perfect, and it's wonderful, and it's good. Except there's something going on there. There's a tree in the garden, in paradise. And its fruit gives the knowledge of good and evil. And there's a sneaky snake, right? And he says, hey, Evie, baby, come here. Have I got an apple for you? She said, not supposed to eat that. He said, oh, come on. It'll make you godlike. See, she forgot she was already godlike, right? Because that's the way God made it. She takes the apple and said, oh, man, that's good. And she takes it over to Adam. She says, Adam, this is good. You're not supposed to do it. She says, oh, snake said it's okay. Get that. All right. So then, they get booted out of the garden. But what is this really about? All right. if God made everything, and God did, because what was there but God to make everything out of? How could there be a tree that has a fruit of knowledge of good and evil? Because there is no evil. God could not make that tree that has knowledge of good and evil because there is no evil. So what, the tree just made itself? Just sprang up out of nowhere and it's got... No. You see, what this is a story of going from oneness to two-ness. Going from oneness to dualism. From the beginning of God and good and only good to good and evil. God and the devil. There's a force of positivity and a force of negativity. How did we get there? God created us with free will. And we could choose to believe in God and only God, or we could believe in God and another force. And guess what else? Guess what else, you see? Because God created by what? Thinking everything into creation. And guess how we create? By thinking everything into creation. And so this is why I say we return to favor. How did we create a God? Not all good everywhere equally present, did we? God could get angry and drown the whole world. Talk about a dysfunctional, rageaholic parent. Is that God? Or is that human beings' belief in God? But remember what the master and our elder brother said, according to your belief it's done unto you. So we created a God that wasn't all that God-like all the time. Oh, these are my chosen ones, these aren't. Hey, you can go in there and take this land and, and these are good people, these are not. Now, oh man, there's something very confusing about this. But we all took a bite out of that apple and believed it. And according to our belief, it is what? Done unto us. Now, I got to just say something a little bit too, because this works for churches too. There's a belief that the summer months we don't get much income. There's been a belief that the September is the worst economic. I don't believe that anymore. I don't want you to believe that anymore. I don't want my finance team or board or treasurer or executive director or assistant to believe that anymore. But we believed it, and guess what? It happened over and over and over again. I want to believe it. God is good. God is here. All the time, God is good. God is here. And according to Hebrew scholars, how we got back into the garden? Read the 23rd Psalm. 23rd Psalm, according to Hebrew scholars, is re-entering the Garden of Eden. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. If you've been to Israel, green pastures are very hard to find. So, baby, a green pasture and trees and plenty of water and all of that, that is paradise. And though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, the what? The shadow, not death, but the belief, the illusion of death. 23rd Psalm, read it in its entirety. It is re-entering the Garden of Eden. All of that, when we came to that understanding, led to something called New Thought. But it's a new thought about an ancient wisdom, that there's one God. There's not two gods. There's not a fallen angel, Lucifer, red skin and a tail and a pitchfork and working the fires of sulfur that you go forever and ever. What kind of God would there be that says some people, if they go to the right church and believe the right thing, get into the clouds and streets paved with gold and angels with feathers and the rest? Is that God? Is that what people think God is? Let me tell you about Carlton Pearson. He was our speaker at the conference. He was a mega church, wealthy minister for years. Fourth generation Pentecostal preacher And he loves that energy, the juice of Pentecost. He says, you guys in Unity sit on your hands too much. You just kind of in your head. You got to get some feeling. But he came to this understanding of this bigger God, this God of love, the God of everywhere present for you all the time, always for you. And you know what the church did? They threw him out. Blasphemer. Heretic. So he came over to New Thought. And now he teaches us. He teaches us. But he has a name for himself because he still likes some of the stuff from the Pentecost. And he calls himself a Metacostal. Not metaphysics and Pentecostal, he's got that together. But here's the thing that led to people as they began to think things through and pray and get a new understanding of God, which is really the old understanding of God, was it starts out, and there's 5 basic teachings of unity. My ex-wife, Connie Fillmore, wrote this when she was the president of the headquarters. I was the vice president at that time. I can't remember 5 things unless I have a mnemonic device. I need an acronym. I'm sorry. And it's not because I'm now 63. I've been that way since I was 12 years old. I need this mnemonic device. So when people want to know what unity is, I tell them it's OOMPA. OOMPA. O-O-M-P-A. If you have joined the church in the last few years, you know I teach that. I will be teaching that next week. So there's 5 things I want you to remember. Not the way Connie said it, but, we're not together anymore anyway. This is the way I say it. The first is the omnipresence of God. God is not a man up in the sky with a book for each one of us saying you did this right, you didn't do that, you went to the wrong church, you went to this one. God is the God, the energy, the divine intelligence, the love, the creativity for all of us. Everywhere. From the farthest reaches of the universe to the depths of the ocean, to the follicles in your hair, to your fingernails, to all the organs within. God is there in every cell and atom and fiber of your being. And God is not punishing. God is perfection. Perfection cannot perceive imperfection. So God, if you're messing up, God doesn't know it, doesn't see it, doesn't care, because God sees you perfect all the time. Have you ever thought of that? Well, I want you to say that. God sees me perfect all the time. God sees me perfect all the time. Now, that doesn't mean get a big old puffed up ego, but just to know, all people, Christian, non-Christian, and atheists who have breakfast on Sunday morning in Waffle House. Okay. The second O is the original virtue of people. Whoa, what is that in contrast to? Original sin, which most of you grew up hearing original sin. I didn't grow up hearing that. I grew up in unity. Now, my friends told me about original sin and told me where I was going because I didn't believe the way they did. And the original virtue, all people, that's you and me and Christians and fundamentalist Christians and Hindus and Jews and Buddhists and Muslims, people that love me and people that hate me. All of them are children of God. Now, we don't always act like it. I don't always act like it. I have a friend sitting here with me, and we went to high school together, and he posted on my birthday that I was a great football player, but I also played basketball like a football player and baseball. I fouled out of more games in my high school than anyone else who ever played the game. And it made it sound sort of like I was mean. But even then, I was a child of God. Perfect. Except for when I believed I wasn't. Except when I believed others weren't. Except when I believed that God is sometimes there and God is sometimes not there, and sometimes God is blessing and sometimes God is punishing. And it's all about getting a new thought, and that's what the M is about. M is about the power of the mind. Mind power. When I was a kid growing up in Unity, and people would say, "Where do you go to church?" I'd say, "Well, Unity." And say, "Well, what's that?" You know what I thought as a kid? Positive thinking. And they would always say, "Well, how can that be a church?" And I'd say, "I don't know. It's just where my mother takes me." But the power of the mind, people. You can use the mind to create. You can use the mind for love. You can use the mind to destroy and hate. It is your choice. And what we want to do is align that little human mind that's not quite totally infinite in its understanding yet, align that with the infinite mind of God. The power of the mind. And this is what I say. I've sometimes been called on to speak to religion classes. They want to know about unity. And I say, listen, if you don't believe in yourself and in life and your ability to make it in life, what chance do you have? What chance do you have when you've lost hope and you've lost belief? And it's all done according to your belief. So if you believe you're a loser, you're a loser. If you believe God is against you, God's against you. You believe not the God, but your God thought. So the power of the mind, it'll change your mind. It'll change your mind starting the moment you change your mind. Remember the prodigal son, as he's lost and hopeless and helpless and broke and hungry and sleeping with the hogs and all, and when he came to himself, when he changed his mind, when he started walking toward home, what happened? The father ran toward him, blessed him in every needed way. Turn your mind around, and God and the universe rush in and support you. So what is the P? What's the P in this formula? Practicing the presence of God, prayer and meditation, affirmative prayer. And the meditation, we clearly borrowed that from the East, the Buddhists, the Hindu, and the Quakers, sitting in the silence. Meditation, where you let go of all that negative thinking. And you know, my friend who was here today, listening to this, me spout off, he knew me when I was at the top of the world, was the valedictorian, was the most valuable player of the football team, was a scholarship recipient, was the Atlanta Journal Cup. He knew me then, and I went off to college. Yet he didn't see me for 40 years. Wondered whatever happened to him. What happened to him is he went off to college, and he got his brains beat out playing against Alabama, and had a paralyzed neck and shoulder. And I went to the best neurosurgeons and orthopedic surgeons, and they said, you have torn major nerves, you will never recover. Good luck. And so I went to this chiropractor who believed he could heal anything. He happened to be the sister-in-law, the brother-in-law of my mother's best friend, Sid Williams, who founded Life University. He believed he could. He looked at my picture and he said, I can't do anything for you, son. I crumbled. I was down. I was lost. He didn't see me then. He wouldn't have recognized me then. And I started coming back to here in another location. And it was the meditation that made all the difference in the world. I was depressed. I was low down. I was just as low as you could get. But the meditation, 5 to 8 minutes per week, I could stop feeling bad about life and God and football and everything else. And that 5 to 8 minutes became 10 to 20 minutes. And that became a half a day. And one morning I woke up, and I woke up, and I woke up. And I said, I am not feeling bad today. What am I feeling? I said, I am feeling good. And I knew that my neck and my shoulder were healed when doctors and chiropractors and everybody else said it couldn't be done. I did not work on healing intentionally. I didn't visualize and put white light. I didn't go to any of these healers. I just learned to meditate. And one day I knew I was one with the one. And nobody could take that away from me. And you know what else? At that point, it didn't matter whether my neck and shoulder were well. I knew I was one with the one. And I tell you, every time we offer a prayer or meditation class here, take it. Take it. And so this prayer program for the fall is built around affirmative prayer and some meditation. What's the A in Oompa? Action. Do it. You got to do it, folks. Doesn't mean you come here, I get revved up. Man, it's power. The music's great, the meditation's great, and I got the message. Oh, wow, 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 wow. And then you go home and live the rest of the week as if you didn't hear what we said. Mind power. You're good. God is here. Practice the presence every day, every day. I was inspired, even though I had taught everybody else, I wasn't doing it. 16 and a half years ago to meditate every day, and I have not missed a day in 16 and a half years, no matter where I was. Meditate. Connect. Get to where you know that you know that you know that you know. I don't know if you ever get that. I don't get it all the time in meditation, but there have been those moments, those special mystical moments of knowing that I am all the universe, and I am infinitesimally small, and I'm one with everyone and everything, and it's a great and poignant moment, because I wish if everybody could feel that and know that we couldn't fight each other, we couldn't cheat each other, we would all live in harmony, and it would be that heaven on earth. And that's what I want for all of us, that mystical moment of oneness with God. But you have to practice every day, whether you get there every day or not. And for me, it's only been a few times in my life that I've done that. But take the action. Take the action. So that teaching of what unity is, Oompa, now you know. And if you forget, because it's way too much material today, get the sermon summary. It's waiting for you as you go out the door. Somebody wants to know what your church is. There it is. But let me get to now the 5 points of the program. So the new thought of the ancient wisdom, going back to Genesis 1, led to Oompa, which leads to this. First point is God is real, God is here, God is all good, God is for us. Say that with me. God is real, God is here, God is all good, God is for us. Whew. Now, I can say that to you, and you can say it back to me, but try to capture the essence of that. I mean, that's what the Bishop Carlton Pearson said. When he got that realization, everything changed in his life. And he could say, I will give up a job where 5,000 or more people come to see me, and many thousands are watching on TV, and all these people, for a new life, because he was dying inside because of his theology. I don't mean to be critical of others' theology, but I'm just saying his path was to there. And sometimes because I grew up in this and I hear it and I say it a lot, I forget how magnificent that is. And hearing this man who converted, in a sense, to New Thought, it inspired me all over again. Wow, this is great. And then in the program, the power of prayer partners is greater than the sum total of the power of the individuals. That still doesn't make sense to me as a mathematician, and I was a mathematics major heading toward being a math teacher. And think, wait a minute, if you add one and one and one, how can that be greater than? How can it? Because there's an energy that comes into the room. It's sort of like when Jesus said, where two or more gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. The Christ consciousness, the God consciousness, whew, it's there. So this prayer, if you're not in a group, get in a group. And if you don't want to get in a group, get your spouse, get your friend, get yourself, and know that we are doing this. And we are not here to give advice. I know, as a preacher, I give advice all the time. I'm giving advice now. But in this program, we're not giving advice. Because sometimes advice is, well, if you were smart as I, or you studied the courses I did, or you got the degree that I got, then you would know how to do this. We don't want that. We just want to love one another. We just give unconditional love and affirmative prayer. And miracles are happening. They are telling me they are happening. I am seeing them. I'm feeling them. I'm being transformed while this is going on. And then finally, the belief. We manifest and experience that on which we place our focus. Where are you placing your focus? On God that's here, that God is real, that God is for you, that God is not punishing or condemning? And no, God does not punish your enemies. So get over it. I held on to that for a long time, even though I grew up in unity. I thought, well, they're going to get it. They're going to get it, you know. No, they're not. They're going to get well. You're going to get well. I'm going to get well. We are well now. We are prospered now. We love one another now. We are growing now. We manifest what we place our attention on. That is the way the universe works. You don't have to like it. You don't have to believe it, but that's the truth. We get back in life what our energy field is, and that's our thoughts and our feelings and our consciousness. So This is our program. This is our program. Thank you for all of you who are in it. And I see my friend from Athens, Georgia. They wanted to do this program. The minister in Myrtle Beach wants to do the program. Laura Lisa wants to do it in New Orleans. It's happening up in Blairsville. This thing is spreading, and miracles are happening. God is real. The power of prayer partners is greater than the sum of the individuals. We're not here to give advice, thank God. We're here to give unconditional love and affirmative prayer. Where else can you go and get that? And we manifest, experience, express, and draw to us that on which we place our focus. That's the message. Are you with me?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well, God bless you. We are doing it. We're doing it. Thank you, and God bless you.